Good afternoon. This is Kathy Getz-Wolf
and Dara Griffin,
and we're here to talk to you about the benefits of parent cafes, which are an important part, as you know, of the improving outcomes for children in Philadelphia. And we're so delighted to be working with the KUAs to introduce parent cafes and have them be ongoing and vibrant and successful in your communities. So today we just wanted to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of parent cafes and why organizations do them.
Before we were Be Strong Families, we were Strengthening Families Illinois, and we had a Strengthening Families Illinois leadership team meeting, which included parents, and one of the parents' name was Jeffrey Scott. We were trying to get the protective factors framework into child welfare and early childhood, and he stood up and said, "You have important information that families need. Give it to us directly and don't dumb it down." And so we took that charge from Jeffrey to make parents a primary audience for the protective factor framework and the language. And so in doing that, we went back to the table and came up with the process now known as the Parent Cafe process. And we were very stringent at first about only allowing parents to be part of this process and it being truly peer-to-peer and parent-to-parent. But as we continued, we learned that having providers be part of the conversation and part of bringing parent cafes to the table was really important in collaboration and positive relationships. So here's a graphic of the 5 protective factor framework. And we took the charge that Jeffrey Scott gave us and really used this language as an action framework that parents can use for themselves to strengthen themselves and strengthen their own families. So on the left, we have the more social work language that's used to describe the protective factors. But on the right, we have what we believe is more parent-friendly language. And so each one of the 5 official protective factors was translated into more parent-friendly language that we used during the parent cafes. Parental resilience became Be Strong and Flexible. Positive or social connections became Parents Need Friends. Concrete support in times of need became Everyone Needs Help Sometimes. Knowledge of parenting and child development became Being a Great Parent is Part Natural and Part Learned. And communication or social and emotional competence became Parents Need to Help Their Children to Communicate. And all of the parent cafes focus on one or more of these 5 protective factors.
In Illinois, Strengthening Families Illinois and the parent cafes were sponsored by the Child Welfare Organization, Child Welfare Agency for the state. And the mantra of the Child Welfare Agency for about 5 years was keep the focus on protecting children by strengthening and supporting their families. So when we talk about a Strengthening Families paradigm shift, we're talking about moving away from the responsibility of child welfare agencies to raise children and toward the responsibility of child welfare agencies to strengthen families and communities so that they can take care of their children. And parent cafes are a way to model this Strengthening Families paradigm shift. They embody the principles and they show what the relationships can be like. They're also a really good way to build positive relationships with the public relations, if you will, positive PR, because child welfare agencies, as you all know, aren't necessarily the most popular entities in communities. They are feared and they are hated by many people who view them as wanting to tear down or destroy their families, instead of agencies that care about keeping families together and care about assisting parents with solving their problems. And so when a child welfare system is committed to assisting families with staying strong, then parent cafes can kind of send that message and be an example of them walking their talk. A little bit more on the Strengthening Families paradigm shift. In child welfare, we're concerned about safety, permanency, and well-being. And often that has been interpreted as safety plus permanency equals well-being for children. But the Strengthening Families shift is towards an understanding that physical, social, and emotional well-being is the overarching goal, and that safety and permanency are part of that. But when you're really focused on physical, social, and emotional well-being for children and families, you do different things than when you're just interested in safety and permanency. The shift in Strengthening Families is away from child saving and helping, and it's more towards developing meaningful relationships and having conversations that spark change and inspire families and communities to be agents of change. It's more about empowering and supporting parents in their role as the primary nurturers of their children. It's recognizing that child welfare system should not be in the business of raising children, but should be in the business of strengthening families, as a child welfare director in Illinois used to say. Strengthening Families shift also recognizes that people do what they do because of what they experienced in their own childhood, and that many families, many parents suffer from the effects of multi-generational trauma. So what needs to happen is that parents need to heal and then come to consciousness about what happened to them and what they can do about it, and then stop the cycle with their children. Avoid their children having the same negative experiences that they had in their childhoods, and help their children heal from whatever trauma they've experienced so far.
So besides being mandated to do parent cafes in the KUAs, why would any family serving organization choose to invest their time and resources doing parent cafes? That's what the next few slides are going to answer. So the first benefit for parent cafes is parents learning about the protective factors. And they're learning it in an environment from each other. They're having the opportunity to talk to their peers and really self-reflect on what they're doing. And the parent cafes work because they're based on the principles of adult learning. Parents are respected, their views are respected, not judged. They can take the information that they learn at the table that day and try to apply it at home. And it builds on the experience that they've already collected as individuals and as adults. So in the beginning, primarily, we were thinking that these cafes were a way for parents to actually learn about the protective factors and build the protective factors at the same time. But once these parents happen in communities, actually much, much more is taking place than only learning and building the protective factors. Besides teaching parents about the protective factors, the second benefit for implementing parent cafes is to build community. Naturally, it takes human resources in order for parent cafes to happen. And we believe, or we've seen, that parents and providers together to bring parent cafes to the community is one of the best ways to do that. Parents being involved right from the beginning to plan and implement and sustain parent cafes. Parents bring a lot of creativity and excitement to this process, and providers bring structure and the resources needed to bring things to fruition and keep them sustainable. The cafe teams bond through this collaboration because they're working together to bring cafes to the community. And it develops a way for them to continue to build a positive relationship. During parent cafes, parents will also vocalize what they like to see happen, or what they like to see next, or what they want in terms of additional events or education on certain topics. This is a way for providers to actually respond to what parents are asking for. And if parents are asking for it, there's going to be much more probability that they'll attend these events and be part of creating the events from the beginning. Another thing, and this is really important, is cafes promote the positive strength-based views of low-income parents and parents of color. It shows that parents of color who are marginalized have something to bring to the table that's valuable and that they care just as much as anyone else or anybody else about their children and about their homes and communities being great places to raise kids.
So the third benefit of parent cafes is to enhance partnerships through real collaboration. We differentiate this from just the general building of community. Building community means that the agency is part of the community and contributes to the community, and that parents who come to cafes get to know each other better, and through sharing their stories, they get closer and they develop connections. So the subset of that is that you really enhance partnerships through real collaboration, that parents and human service providers are working together to plan and implement cafes, and they are sharing real experiences both in the planning process and also in cafes that are based on equality and respect. So it's not experts, kind of telling people what to do and organizing the whole process, but a team of people working together in relationships of equality and respect to make something happen for the community. And through this process of planning and implementing parent cafes, parents also enhance their leadership skills. There's shared leadership in the planning and implementation of cafes, and the cafes themselves should be one of many opportunities for parents to give their input and have their voice in decision making in your organization. So the parent cafes model the relationship that you want to have with parents, the respect you have for parents, and the fact that you want them to be assisting and guiding and advising and participating in all aspects of your program's implementation. Hosting parent cafes also develops leadership skills for parents, like public speaking, develops their confidence, assists them with group work. And so these actually are job skills that people can use in their real lives to be able to assist with supporting their families. And everyone who participates in a parent cafe, both staff and parents, enhances their social and emotional skills. And often, like we say, one of the protective factors is communication and the social emotional competence of children. And we say in a lot of our trainings that idea of parents being able to assist their children with social and emotional learning, with things like making friends and resolving conflicts, is predicated on them having those skills. And a lot of adults in our society struggle with those things. So through parent cafes and just the structure and the way parent cafes function, everybody who participates in them gets experience and practice with active listening. They get to really think about how they're going to solve problems, and they hear how other people are solving problems in a positive way. They are huge stress reducers, and also explicitly, as we're talking about the protective factors, people talk about positive ways to resolve stress. They talk about resilience and how they're going to enhance their resilience. So they get ideas for reducing stress in their lives, and the cafes themselves, through expressing what they're feeling and what their challenges are and how they can respond to those challenges in their lives, they also feel stress going away from them because the bottled up tension of having the problem is what can be overwhelming. And then also parent cafes build positive communication skills because of the agreements and the fact that people aren't interrupting each other, they aren't judging each other, they aren't talking about anybody but themselves, they're not telling other people what they should do. So they really practice positive communication skills.
And the last benefit we like to discuss with you today about parent cafes is that they actually promote healing. And that is what we believe is a really, really important part of the parent cafe process. It's allowing people to have personal time to reflect without being judged about who they are, what they're doing. It allows for time for them to have a personal catharsis and to build relationships and connections with other people who are also attending the cafe. These are happening, or this healing is happening, because everyone's seeing that everyone else has something to give and something valuable that they've experienced as a person and as a parent. It also helps mitigate the impact of trauma by building the protective factors. And strengthening families is a strength based initiative. It's about identifying the strengths that we already have inside of us. And at the cafes, participants and parents have the opportunity to talk about where they are already strong and how they can become stronger. And we like to play a video at this point to show a few parents talking about how the parent cafes have benefited them.
The program this year has been very rewarding. I've learned a lot about working with others, even more so than I have in the past 2 years that I've worked with the parenting program. I'm very engaged, more with the community, and I'm also learning a lot about myself. So that's
something that helps you de-escalate from stressors that you may need to release, or talk to somebody about what's going on, and they really know how to pull it out you with some of the questions that they ask, and it's non-judgmental.
Exchange of ideas and actual interface with other people from different backgrounds, it could be nothing but good for the neighborhood.
So we want to leave you with an idea. What about if the conversation is the relationship? What kinds of conversations are we having? What kinds of relationships do we have? We know that in parent cafes we have great conversations, but why does that matter? Well, one of the reasons it matters is because the conversation is the relationship. In some ways, if you think about the last conversation you had, or how the conversations you usually have with each other go, kind of says something about what kind of interaction, what kind of meaning, what the quality of the relationship is. I have a little funny video to show you about, it's a series on YouTube about conversations between two people who have known each other for a long time. So I'm going to just click now and have you watch it. It's only about 2 minutes, so enjoy.
Sarah, a sweet, kind lady, sits and organizes her coupons for the week. Just like she does every Sunday evening. At this point, cutting coupons is more than saving money, it's a ritual. She recently found a coupon for headphones you can connect to the TV. Bought them for George for his 58th birthday. She finds the local news very depressing. George, a reserved blue-collar type with graying hair, is watching the 6 o'clock news intently. It's not that he's so interested in what's going on outside, although he does love the occasional car chase. George fantasizes about famed Channel 2 news anchor Cynthia Thompson. George and Sarah have gotten reacquainted with each other since the kids moved out. They've traveled the Southeast states extensively, and they're in tune with each other's likes and dislikes. They're still very much in love after almost 30 years.
Huh?
What's that, George? I thought you said something. Never mind. It was just a conversation between two people who have known each other for a long time.
So after that last video, aren't you looking forward to a parent cafe? We need to talk to each other. We need to build meaningful, deep, intimate quality relationships with each other in our families and in our communities so that we can have the deepest, best, richest experience in this human journey that we're on. So enjoy your parent cafes and have great conversations with each other.